Does my future look too bright? Does my face look too bright? Maybe because my future is too bright. Today we are going to talk about the NIYAMAS. The NIYAMAS, the NIYAMAS, the NIYAMAS. That's on the program for today. No, it is not trending on Twitter. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. In my next lifetime, I definitely want to be an opera singer. That would be so much fun. But if you're interested in the NIYAMAS for today, stay tuned. I will promise not to sing. Hi Goa Flowers, I'm Anita Goa and welcome to Philosophy Friday. Today we are, like I sang in my intro, we're going to talk about the NIYAMAS, the second limb on the Ashtanga Yoga Path, the 8-limb path. So make yourself comfortable. It was so great that you guys were enjoying a cup of tea together with me last week. So here I got a huge cup of tea. And last week I had my favorite Yorkshire tea, which has caffeine in it. So I have a smaller cup for that. And I've been on the lookout for a vanilla rooibos decaffeinated tea. And I found one at Tesco and I was so excited to find it. I found it yesterday. I drank it yesterday and I love it. So today I have a rooibos vanilla decaf tea, and because it's decaf I can have it in a bigger cup. I'm very particular about the cups that I drink from and my tea just in general. But let's leave that for another video. Let's get into the NIYAMAS. So what are the NIYAMAS about? Well, last week I told you about the yamas, which are basically practices that we want to try to avoid. Like we don't want to steal, we don't want to lie, we don't want to be greedy. The NIYAMAS have more to do with guidelines and practices of things that we should be doing or we should try to practice, if that makes sense. So the first yama is Saucha, and that means purity or cleanliness. I tend to like the word cleanliness more than purity because I think that purity has a little bit of a negative connotation to it. I associate more with cleanliness, and this has to do with cleanliness of the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it's about, sort of cleaning stuff out. Maybe detoxing would be another word. We practice this in our yoga practice when we are moving, when we are breathing, when we are sweating, when we are moving ourselves in all different kinds of positions. Forward bends, backward bends, twists, turning ourselves upside down. In relaxation, we are, detoxing. We're letting go of stuff that the body doesn't need by sweating. And also we are, doing wonders and good things for the organs of our body. We are also cleansing our mind by staying focused on our breathing, staying present in the moment, and just releasing stuff in our mind that does no longer serve us or might sort of jumble or everything up in there so that we're not able to think clearly. And spiritually, we practice it within all of these practices in recognizing what it is that we need in our life, and also recognizing what it is that we don't need in our life. So for me, Saucha it really is about space. It's about creating space. And for me, it goes back to the Yama Brahmacharya, which was moderation and focus, and also ahimsa, non-violence, and satya, truth. You know, you have to not beat yourself up for recognizing the state that maybe you might be in. Maybe your life or your body or your mind is a little messy. So be it. Do something about it, right? And just be, you know, truthful about that. The second yama is called Santosha, and this means contentment. Oh, I love this niyama, but it's a bit challenging. I think of this Santosha as gratitude. It is so easy to sort of live from our mind and say, I want this, I want that. I love to be this person. I love to be that person. I love to have that one's practice. I'd love it if I looked a little bit different, right? But Santosha, just as gratitude, is really about just appreciating what it is that we have and literally just choosing the positive in our life, the positive in ourselves, and the positive in other people. And every day I try to write a gratitude journal, 5 things that I am grateful for. And it puts me in that space of being content with who I am, with what it is that I have, and just being extremely grateful for that. So the more I am able to operate from that Santosha place, the more productive I am, the more I am, you know, authentically me, the more I am creative. And it's such an important step to try to integrate into life. And I think that it links a lot with the yama asteya that I talked about last week, the non-stealing, and especially the definition of asteya, that stealing is subscribing to a poverty mentality, right? So the more we operate from a mind of not having, of not being happy with who we are, or content with who we are, appreciating ourselves for who we are, the more we are living in that poverty mentality. And that's not a good place to live. All right, let's have some tea. Ah, so good. Tea is like a hug for the soul, that's for sure. All right, niyama number 3 is called tapas. And it's not the Spanish tapas that you might be thinking about. Tapas translates to discipline. And discipline might have a little bit of the same negative connotation as purity. I don't know. You let me know if you think that it does. Discipline in this regard is not beating yourself up in any respect. Discipline, as it is defined in the yogic philosophy, means to generate light or heat. I absolutely love that. I want to generate light. Don't you want to generate light? And the best way to generate light is when you do what you know you're supposed to do. I think it really boils down to we are what we do on a daily basis, right? And I think that this links back to aparigraha, which means non-attachment. So I gave in the last video on the yamas 2 different examples of, you know, sort of getting to the end goal of maybe practicing and being able to do a headstand, a handstand, or a side crow, whatever it might be. So this is, you know, creating discipline to me is more about the journey of it and recognizing stuff that comes up on the journey. Some stuff is going to be really challenging. It's going to force you to really dig down deep in order to move yourself through it. You're going to have to produce a lot of heat, a lot of light in order to get through it. But that's the tapas. That's part of the practice. And you can't be so attached to the outcome, but you just have to really stay present and be exactly where it is that you are and do the work that is required in that moment. It's a huge subject, I think, and I could talk much more about this. I would love to hear your definition of discipline and how discipline resonates in your life and how you're practicing it. To me, it is about finding my own flow and then following my own flow. The fourth niyama is called Svadhyaya, and that means self-study or reflection. Oh, this is a big one. Sometimes I joke and I say, oh, I just wish that I was completely ignorant, because ignorance seems like it is bliss. It can feel sometimes a little annoying to be aware and to be super aware of everything. But in the end, you know, it is truly a blessing, and in the end, that is what we really want on the yoga path, is to be honest with ourselves. So this goes back to the yama of Saucha, of being truthful. How truthful can we be about ourselves? How clear do we see ourselves? So this is very important to pay attention to, that we ourselves have to look at ourselves, look at what we're thinking, look at what we're doing. And I think that it has a lot to do with self-responsibility, that most of the time it's up to us, right? Most of the time we ourselves, we have to, you know, get out of our own way and get going and not blame others or put ourselves in the blaming seat, but just really take a good look at ourselves and try to do that without judgment. And that is a huge, huge, huge practice. And know that you're not alone, because this is happening to all of us. You know, we are all trying to figure things out. And one thing that I read a while back, and what is a wonderful image to have, is that when you are practicing your meditation or your asana on the yoga mat, or whatever it is that you're going through, is when you're practicing, you are also practicing with everyone that is practicing at that moment. And I think that that is lovely to bring into your practice, to recognize that you are not alone. There are other people that might be feeling and dealing with exactly the same thing that you are feeling or dealing with. And it's just about being honest with yourself. And if you need help with it, then reach out and ask someone to help you. Because you don't want to be, you know, beating yourself up for maybe the thoughts that you have, the actions that you are making, or what is happening to you. Ahimsa, remember, that was a big one. So just, you know, keep paying attention to what it is that you're doing, and if there's anything you need to change, try to see how you can change it. The last and the fifth niyama is called Isvara Pranidana, and that translates to surrendering yourself to an infinite reality, or surrendering yourself to a higher power. This step has a lot to do with letting go. It has to do with accepting our limitations, and sort of, you know, I think of it as handing it over to a higher power. I'm not, you know, particularly religious. I do believe in God, I do believe in a higher power, but I don't practice a religion per se. So this step, as much as I, you know, haven't really maybe focused so much on this step, I know that in those moments of my life when I feel like I might have lost faith, or I'm feeling challenged, or maybe I've lost sort of a sense of direction, which happens. It definitely helps me to visualize that I am just handing it over to the universe, that I am handing it over to a higher power, because I do believe from experience other times in my life that there has been a higher power that has at times come in and helped and supported in ways that I could never ever have imagined myself. But I do think that in my yoga practice I talk a lot about letting go. And for me, in my life, it is a lot about letting go. Because I think it's so easy to take on stuff, and we take on things, whether that's mentally or physically or just in our homes, in our life in general, that it's stuff that we don't need. So the more we can let go, the deeper I think we can move into our practice, the deeper we can move into ourselves, the deeper we can move into our life. So as important as it is to, you know, put effort into something, I think it is just equally important to let go of something. So it is that strength and surrender balance. I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on this step, these steps, or this step. So let me know in the comment box below how any of this resonates with you and where you are. I loved hearing from you last week. So I hope that it was helpful. Next week I'll be covering the third limb. So stay tuned. Bye. Mwah. Last part of the tea. I think this was a really long video. I have no idea how long it ended up being. All right, baby, you had a few cups of tea.